Anna from Big Dot Consulting.
And I'm Bridget from Shift One Degree. So today we're going to be talking about self-awareness and what it actually means and why it's even relevant. And we're going to spend the next few weeks kind of going into this, because self-awareness is literally the way that you perceive and the way that you see things, experience things. And the more aware you are of yourself, the more aware you can be of what works for you and what doesn't in your being and your doing.
It is, and that's part of what's going to help you to build yourself as a brand. If I look from the marketing side and business side, if you have the self-awareness and you know yourself, you can be, and you find a way to be okay with who you are and you accepting yourself, then you can build a very strong brand that's going to take you very far. And that's part of it. And that's why it's very important. I think that's why if we look at the different topics that we chose in the last few weeks, it's a lot of like self-work. So you need to work on yourself in order to get to a better place. You need to learn how to change your attitude. You need to learn how to stop procrastinating. You need to learn how to love yourself, accept yourself. And I think that's why we decided to speak on the self-awareness today, because it's also part of that journey on actually the acceptance.
Yeah, I think also with lockdown, I mean, it's quite crazy having touched base with so many different people over this time and the different journeys that they've gone on and the different journeys that I've gone on. And it's all in, for me personally, I can say it's all in my mind, because my environment has not really changed. So nothing in my life has really changed, but my mind changes depending on what I feed it and what I become aware of and how disciplined I am and so forth. So that's actually the first point of self-awareness, is what is your pattern? And I think what's interesting with this is we all have patterns in the way we deal with the way we feel. Like, I'll give you an example. Yesterday I did a coaching session with somebody who was feeling rejected and she was feeling disrespected because she wasn't chosen to work with a bunch of coaches that are part of this massive organization. There's 8 or 10 of them. They chose 8 and they didn't choose her. And she really took that on. And we had a whole coaching session around ego, being I, and around, but maybe it's not you authentically being able to be yourself, you know?
So
and
I think that the rejection is redirection.
Yeah, well, in this case, it was more about what we uncovered and what we unpacked around it was, you know, for her to truly be who she is, didn't actually resonate and connect with the owners of the company. So it would mean if she got chosen as one of the coaches for this, to do this job, she would have to not be who she authentically is. And, you know, it's having that self-awareness of who you really are. And you should never compromise on that. You are who you are, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to link it to the side of the branding business side, because I always say, you know, like, if you're trying to get a job, so she was trying to get this job and to be part of something, but by doing that, she wouldn't be loyal to herself, which means that they are not a target audience. So why do you want to work with someone that is actually not your target? And, you know, like I always say it on the example of like the dating side, because men and females, like all the relationship side, you know, it's something that if you want to be in it, you need to work hard on this. And you need, you know, you need to invest the time and effort. But in a business, you don't have that time to invest so much time to reach out to the person, to understand how you can speak to that person, all of that. That's why you need to reach out to the right people. That's why you need to target your people. And that's what happened to her. They were not a match. So don't waste time and energy on something that is not your target audience. It's not part of who you want to build yourself as a brand. And that's what I said, like, if you get a no from a client or a potential client, that means that that person not supposed to work with you because it's not part of your target audience. And that's okay. So learn to accept it. Don't see it as an ego.
No, but I think for me, where that ties into the pattern is that as we were having the conversation, I was like, okay, so where has this feeling before happened where you feel rejected, not good enough, not worthy? Like, where did this happen? And we were kind of unpacking where it started and then how these various patterns had been reoccurring. And the more aware you are of yourself, of your patterns, the easier they are to break. If you keep making the same mistakes, there's something that you are not learning along the way. And that's why patterns are so important, because you can change the pattern. It's got nothing to do with the environment, and it's got nothing to do with the people. It's about your pattern, which when you become aware of it, you can then break it if you choose to.
It exactly is. If we look to the second point, is just to understand also your own emotions and moods, like to understand where are things coming from. And I'm going to link it to what you said, because a lot of time our behavior is in a certain way, like the lack of confidence that we have. It usually comes from a certain thing that happened to us, maybe in the childhood, maybe when we were a teenager, maybe some teacher says something wrong, maybe one of the parents said, maybe one of the friends in class said. If you understand all of those things, and you understand where is it coming from, you can actually fix it and understand. Because the same conversation that I had with one of my friends, for example, about where does it come from, the fact that she doesn't appreciate herself enough. And then when we digged in and we understood where it's coming from, it's easier to overcome it. It's easier to understand where the emotions are coming from and to try to overcome that and not let it impact. I always say, acknowledge those emotions, acknowledge those fears, but don't let them control you. Don't let them guide you in life.
I think also what comes up for me is, nobody can make you feel a certain way. Only you can make yourself feel a certain way. So even if I saw you this morning and I said to you, why did you cut your hair so short? Sure, it doesn't look great. Maybe you should have kept it long. Say, for example, like argument's sake, say I said something like that, and then you were like, oh my gosh, like, you really took that on. You choose how to take that on, and if something personal, then you don't take it on, So your emotions are your choice. That's because it's one person's opinion, which doesn't mean anything really.
So I can share something very personal. So there was a time that it took me a long time to accept myself and to love myself on the way I look and all of that. And I remember the one day that something have changed in my mind was when a friend looked at me and said, if I'm going to tell you that you're stupid, you're going to point the finger at me and you say, like, stop it. Like, that's not even true. I'm not going to let it impact me. But if I'm going to tell you gained some weight, or like you did something, like the outfit doesn't look good, you're going to cry immediately. And then I realized it was my decision to let that emotion come in and let it sink in. And that's what I was working on. Like, I need to build that side of me. And eventually it's like, you as a person, you don't want to decide if you want to get hurt or not. People are saying things the way they are, because that's the way they know how to communicate. That's the way how they know to engage. It doesn't mean anything about you. But if you're going to listen to what they're saying and you're going to take it as it is and you're going to let it hurt you, it's your decision eventually. So are you going to let them, or maybe you can explain yourself? And that's part of the self-awareness. Learn to deal with the emotions. You learn to understand where they're coming from, and then learn how to communicate it to the person in front of you, and don't let what he's saying impact. And if you look, maybe it's celebrities. People got opinions about what they do. If they're going to let each and every one of them impact their decisions, they're not going to be where they are.
Also, when people say something to you which might be seen as hurtful or negative or in not a great way, I don't believe they mean it that way. I don't believe anyone ever wakes up in the morning and goes, how can I be hurtful to another human being? I think what happens is they say something without knowing the whole history or how you're going to interpret it. You interpret it a certain way, and then the whole thing gets completely misconstrued. That's what I think happens.
So if you guys feel that people who watch us, that like you also have this misunderstanding with some people, and then sometimes you get hurt, so just share with us, because a lot of time that's what happens. And that's, again, if I'll take you to a business side, it's the same as learning. Like, if you know who you're targeting, then it's easier for you to communicate with them, to engage with them. You know how to bring them the message because you think the same way as they are. But a lot of the time, that's why I always say in marketing that you need to learn as much as you can about your target audience, because that's how you can engage the best way with them. And it's, again, like in life, we'll be chatting with different friends or our partners, and we don't understand that sometimes we say something because this is how we know how to communicate. But they actually sits on a certain sensitive spot on their life that's going to bring something else. And it's not what they did because we are not sensitive. It's because we were not aware that we're going to touch a sensitive spot. And that's part of it, of the understanding. So again, with your clients, try to understand. A lot of time, just try to first listen to your clients Read in between the lines, and then you can communicate with them. And that's how you can overcome this part. And that's how you're going to build your self-awareness as well.
And then also tie that into the third one is your to become aware of your response, to see how you behave towards something. Because if you're going to allow every single person's opinion to impact you, by the end of the day, I mean, you're either going to be on an absolute high about life, or you're going to be completely broken. But either which way, you are allowing your environment to control you, as opposed to going, that was one person's opinion and that's okay. You know, they're probably not my target market, or they're not the right person for me, or whatever the case is. But it actually makes you clearer on who you are connecting with and who you are not connecting with.
And also try to see it as a constructive, feedback. If someone gives you something and says something, before you first take it on the emotional side of it, stop for a second. Think, is there something in what he's saying, yes or not? Ask the questions, like, why are you saying what you're saying? Like, where is it coming from? Have like some discussion around this, just to understand, because that's what's going to help you grow yourself. Because people sometimes say things from their perspective, and you can learn out of it or not, and it's fine. You don't need to agree with everyone, but look at this as a growing process.
I think especially with lockdown, you've got a lot of time, whether you are staying on your own or whether you're staying with somebody else. There is a lot of time for self-awareness, and you can assess where you're being triggered, how you're being triggered, and where you need to manage yourself better. So what area is it? Is it self-confidence? Is it self-discipline? Like, what is it within yourself that you need to work on in order to not feel a way that you don't want to feel?
And so that's why you can have a journal as well, and write down in a journal, what are the things that you want to work on? We're going to stay here in this lockdown, and we don't know for how long, and we don't know when we're going to move to a different stage or not. So write it in journal. What are the things that you want to, make better in your life? Which are the key points that you want to empower in yourself? And it's a great time to work in it. And it's also a great opportunity to find the right supporting group. So if you go to someone and ask him for questions like, I want to fix this in my life, I want to empower myself in this, what do you think I can do? Go to the person that can actually give you constructive feedback, someone that will know how to tell you this, that you won't get offended. Because that's part of it. And that's, even if you go to someone and you get offended, that's part of you growing. Learn how not to let it impact you that much, because especially if you work as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you're going to get hurt every time like a client going to say something. Are you going to let it impact you? How do you look at your business?
Yeah, if you take things personally, and it's invariably, it's not a personal thing. Like, some people like coffee from Vita, some people like coffee from maybe Mug and Bean. It's not a personal thing. It's just a preference of what people like. So you can't take things personally either. So.
And that's why I always say there's no competition in small business, like on the entrepreneur side. You don't have a competition, because bottom line, each and every one of us is a different brand. We all have a different story. We all have a different personality, different values, different things. Yes, some of us got stuff in common, but still, it's something else. So people will either feel a connection to you or not. But if you love yourself and you appreciate yourself and you're very aware to yourself, it's going to make it easier for them to come to you and look at it from the side that you can be an inspiration to them. Because if you know yourself and you're very true to yourself and you're going to bring it out there, people will be like, okay, I can also get there. That's also where I want to be. I can also do it. And then he will engage with you and he will understand, like, how did you move from that point to that point? And I can say that if I look at myself, the reason why I decided to rebrand myself recently is because of my self-awareness, of learning to put myself in the front, that I'm the brand. I accepted it, that I'm the brand, and I need to expose myself. That's why I put on my different quotes, my picture, and that's why I do this YouTube stuff, because it's part of my personal growing, me accepting myself. And I can see the feedback around it, and that's amazing. So if I can do it, everyone can do it, and just find the points that you want to highlight, that you want to put out there, that will separate you as a brand. And if you know yourself, you know exactly what to put in the front.
Yeah, I think also one of the things that I've done previously, I would go under the umbrella of other people. So I would, be affiliated to them and work under them, maybe market a bit of myself, but kind of work under their brand, and my brand would be a sideline. But now what I've done is I don't do that with anybody. So I only work under Shift 1 Degree. So I do collaboration, but I don't work under any other brand, because my whole brand's around personal development. So everything I'm doing is around personal development. And I think it's consistency is key with that.
Very. In marketing, consistency is the key. You can see it on the social media platform. Yeah. You can see it with everything you do. If you're not going to be consistent, people will not know what do you want? What's your message? If you're going to be everywhere and you're going to try to be everything to everyone, they won't stick. If I'm going to give you, for example, if I'm going to get my YouTube channel to give you tips on marketing, but also I'm going to give you tips on how to put your makeup on, and I'll give you some tips on traveling, you're going to be like, so she's not an expert in none of the above. Like, it's going to be all over the place. You wouldn't know what to expect. If I'm consistent, that I'm giving you content about marketing, you know exactly what you will find in my channel. And that's when you decide, am I interested or not? And that's where you take it. So consistency is the key. And like you said, if you know who you are and what's your brand all about, stick to that. And if you need, find different collaborations that are going to help you to empower yourself. But find the right collaborations.
I think, and so the I'm going to try and think of the right word. Like because we're going to be back again on Friday. We're going to be speaking on the same topic, self-awareness. So for the next few days, if you find yourself feeling a certain way, like regularly you're feeling, I don't know, sad or despondent or any kind of negative, if it's positive, rock with it, that's flipping awesome. But if it's anything negative, then take the first point of this and look at the pattern in when you feel this way. So what is the conversation you're having with yourself when something happens for you to feel this way, and then you can change it. That's the beautiful thing about self-awareness. Yeah. So look at the pattern.
So I think so I'll take what you said and explain in another way. Really, every feeling that you're going to have in the upcoming days, just write it down to yourself. What do you feel? Understand, where is it coming from? If you feel sad, why do you feel sad? If you feel that you're not confident enough, understand where it's all coming from. And once you're going to understand it, it's going to be an easier way for you to overcome it and change your attitude and say okay, that was in the past. I'm not in the same place. And then look at the small victories you had each and every time in your life. Remind it to yourself, because that's going to help you again overcome that feeling. Because we all have our moments of self-doubt, right? I know I have it. I'm sure you also have it. We all have it, especially when you are a business owner. We all have our moments. But remind yourself the small victories, help your self-awareness to grow now. Like, be aware for all of these things. So it's going to help you to overcome it.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. And then the second one?
We just said, understand, as I said, we need to understand our emotions, accept them, let them be. And I can say, sometimes you have a day that you don't feel like working much. Accept it, allow yourself to do it, but understand where is it coming from. And then try to say, okay, I'm going to let it to be like this for an hour, 2, 3, but then I'm going to get up and I'm going to do it. And I actually said it now to a client of mine. We spoke about the same thing, and I gave the example. When you need to run a marathon, right? Eventually, everyone will get there. But the question is, how long does it take you to get back your normal breathing, right? How long does it take you? Are you in a good fit or are you not? And that's the same when you fall down. If you fall down, that's okay. We're all going to get eventually to the end, right? We're all going to have our moments. But how long does it take you to get up and go back to normal activity? So allow yourself to fall, but get up. And that's part of understanding your emotion, understanding where is it coming from, because that's what's going to help you to build yourself up.
Yeah, and then finally on how you react to that. So if somebody says something to you, how do you react to that? Because there's a way that you can take it of taking it very positively and looking at it and going, wow, okay, so there's an area that I could improve on, or there's an area that I could grow, or you could take it in a woe is me kind of victim side. So I think any kind of feedback or any kind of criticism sounds quite negative. I think feedback's a better word. Whenever you get that, I think, yeah, look at how you respond to that, because there's always a positive way you can respond to that for the betterment of you.
So I'm going to add that formula that I always say and use: event plus reaction equal to the outcome. Events will always happen in our life. The coronavirus will happen. The way we're going to react to this is going to lead to the final outcome. So we always need to think like, where do we want to be? Where do we want to, take it to? Like someone was saying yesterday to me about like the corona, that it's like over it and like moaning a lot. I said like, look, it is what it is. I'm trying to make the most out of it, because that's my decision to react to that event. So think about it. How do you want to react to the events that happens in your life? And is it going to lead you to the final outcome, to where you want to be? And bear that in mind. So you're more than welcome to share with us what helped you. Like, how do you work on having
triggers?
What's triggering you? How you deal with emotions? Do you let it sink in? Like, do you deal with this immediately? Do you actually do a process and understanding where things are coming from?
Yeah. And then, on Friday, we're going to stick on the same. We're going to keep with self-awareness, because I think it's a really, really important topic, especially right now because of what everything that's going on. So any sort of feedback or questions or challenges you're facing would be great to get some input.
Exactly. And also think about it. If you have, if you improve and you know yourself, you can actually build a strong brand. So that's part of it. And that's where you want to do it. So use this period of time of the corona, of the lockdown, to work on yourself so you can actually build a brand that's going to stay here for the long run. Build something strong. So see you guys on Friday, right?
Friday.
Bye. Have a lovely week. Bye.